what are you looking forward to for 2023?
I am looking forward to Friendor 2, obviously. You're gonna stump for that. I'm interested in where it's gonna be. I'm interested in what it's gonna look like. I'm interested in seeing where MJF goes as you've got the belt now.
Yep.
You got your big boy pants. You get that. You found the hottest girl in Denver or wherever the heck they were. I mean, it's time. Like you're the first pillar with the belt. Well, I mean, I guess Hangman was a pillar. But
if they're considering the 4 pillars that they were pushing, then MJF would be the first one with the big boy title.
So I'm interested.
And we talked about like when he first won, like the feuds that we want to see. Like I want to see him rekindle the stuff with Jack Perry, especially this version of Jungle Boy, because he is by himself. He is solo. It looks like he's doing some stuff with Hook for in the interim, which I think could be fun. But I really, and then of course they're gonna have to do MJF versus Wardlow at some point. Has to happen. And so I'm really
they need to do that story.
So that'll happen at some point as well, I think. So yeah, I heard Des said that the Cruiserweight Classic, and I have heard that they're bringing that back. I loved the Cruiserweight Classic, and I love the Cruiserweights, but they did them dirty. They treated them like they didn't matter. Once even being on Raw, they didn't give a shit about them. They certainly didn't care about them on 205 Live, and I will die on the hill that 205 Live for 2 years was the best wrestling WWE was putting on. With storylines, the matches, all of it. Like,
I completely agree with you.
And so
no argument here.
I don't trust Triple H to do any better with them. I think the Cruiserweight Classic is kind of him just flexing on who he can potentially sign that that AEW hasn't signed. And so I don't think his motives are to rebuild the Cruiserweight division. I mean, he could prove me wrong, which I would love. Prove me wrong, Triple H. Prove me wrong.
But you probably won't.
Yeah, you probably won't. And so let me go back and find this.
Go back to your.
I'll find the comment in just a second. So, what else, is there anything else that you're looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to this momentum with Dynamite continuing, and that there continues to be like awesome new wrestling. I'm hoping to see maybe some of the Strong tapings come my way to the middle of the country. We'll see.
I'm hoping
what
Strong
happens
comes
there
back next year.
And I'm hoping, and I think that this will happen, is like I'm looking forward to a resurgence of New Japan. I think that this could finally, maybe they'll
because they've been putting on some really good shows, but a lot of people are missing them because they're not.
They need to do the crowd thing. Obviously, yes, it's your country and you can do what you want with it, and obviously, and all those things. But I mean, we know full well that there are people that are holding back from like the American promotions going to Japan because they want to be in front of cheering crowds, and I don't blame them because I would be
I can understand that. I can understand that. I mean, for me, that's not a deal breaker. Like, I understand, like, as a wrestler, of course you want to hear those cheers, but it doesn't bother me that fans aren't cheering. Like, I'm not tuning in for crowd noise. So it doesn't,
but it doesn't bother me. It does.
It definitely adds to it. Like, I completely get that. And I know the wrestlers miss it. And I know, especially because a lot of them have come, they've gone to the UK or they've come to America and they've wrestled and they've got to hear the cheering again. Then they go back to Japan and it's very limited. So I completely get that, like, especially from a wrestler standpoint of how hard that must be. So I definitely get that for sure. I think New Japan is on the cusp of being what it was a few years ago.
On its way back.
For sure. And so I guess on top of so for what I'm looking forward to, definitely whatever Mercedes does, wherever she goes, she feels like she is on the cusp of something very big and very important not in Japan and in American wrestling, just in women's wrestling in general. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing, not to put like all this pressure on her, but I feel like she can deliver a lot. And then that kind of ties into women's wrestling in general. Raphael over at Daily DDT wrote a really good article, and think I retweeted. I actually used it in an article I was writing. That's how I wrote it. So I will post it. But he was talking about how women's wrestling seems like it's on the cusp of being what it should have already been. There's just with all the promotions, with American wrestling, Japanese wrestling, even European wrestling, just everywhere, it seems like women's wrestling is finally on the cusp of being what it should be and what it could be. So I'm really interested to see, and if Mercedes is coming to AEW, like what that means for Japan and America, and if she's doing the strong shows, and then just the other stuff. I mean, there's Saraya, there's all the women, there's Britt, and then there's Masha's killing it, Impact, and on the indie scene. There's Thunder Rosa will hopefully be back at some point. Hopefully, I don't know how that's going to go with her injury, like how that changes how she works and things like that. But I'm excited to see where that could go. There's so much with women's wrestling that it feels like it's on the brink of that. 2023 could finally be a really big year for women's wrestling, and I hope that I am not let down. I really hope that is coming. I am interested when what happens with ROH streaming. I'm interested to see how they present that, especially when it comes to a weekly type of thing, which wrestlers they highlight, which wrestlers seem to move over. You and I have talked about a lot that we think maybe Work Horseman is going to be featured in the tag team division on the ROH side of things. I hope that they're featured heavily, of course, and I know I'm biased in that hope. But yeah, and I'm looking, and yes, and so Daza, that's what I was going to go back and add about.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the comment right there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yes, thank you, Daza. It was seeing Hater's big baby face turn. I hope they build it up and execute it right as well.
Me too.
It could be done really well. They've been planning.
Clearly there. I mean, she's got it. So
they've been planting the seeds with her and Britt. They still are. Like, Britt walks out ahead of her.
Working. Yeah, I mean, it's work, but she is getting over on her. Like, she's starting that separation. I feel like, anyway, in my experience with it, I feel like the separation is happening. It's gonna be a good match. I mean, I think someone in on the Bungo's Dynamite show, and maybe it was even Grandpa Des, but somebody suggested boldly a women's Blood and Guts.
That would be very cool.
Loved that idea, and I wanted to. I'm like, I love that.
Here for that.
I think it was one of them. One of you guys, or somebody, if it was someone in the chat, I apologize, but whoever put that out there, I loved that idea.
Yeah,
I was like, what a great idea.
That's a phenomenal idea. I love that idea. I think that would be fantastic.